Hey you guys, welcome back to my channel. Today's video is a new foundation alert video. New foundation alert. Today's foundation that I'm gonna be talking to you about is from Makeup Forever. This is the Makeup Forever Reboot Foundation. I'm partnering with Makeup Forever to do this video to show you guys the new foundation, to show you how I use it, tell you what I like about it. As you guys know, Makeup Forever is one of my favorite brands and I'm so excited that I get to work with them. It has such a beautiful finish on the skin. If you're looking for something that's a little bit of a lighter coverage, you're gonna love this. You're gonna wanna try it. This one is a light to medium coverage. It has a satin finish to it, so if you have drier skin, you're gonna love this. It makes your skin look amazing. It's also a skin revitalizing foundation, so it helps to brighten, smooth, firm, hydrate, and even out your skin. I'm really excited about this foundation. I actually went to the masterclass that Makeup Forever held where Makeup by Ariel did a demo on Desi doing her foundation. He used this product and it looked amazing when he was done. Like, the foundation looked absolutely flawless. The Makeup Forever Reboot Foundation is available today, January 31st. It's available on Sephora online and will be rolling out in stores this week. So I high-key recommend going in, getting shade matched, getting a sample. I'm trying it out. It's really beautiful. I feel like you guys are gonna like this stuff on the skin. So let's get started. I'm gonna start my routine with just lightweight spot concealing. I've shown you guys this many times. This is the Makeup Forever Ultra HD Concealer in the shade 30. I'm just gonna hit these areas here with a little bit of spot concealer before I get started. I'm gonna go ahead and pump out some of the Makeup Forever Reboot Foundation. Today I'm gonna use shade Y305 just because I have a little bit of a spray tan going on and I wanna make sure that it matches my body pretty well. However, shade Y244 is like my perfect shade match. Like, it's amazing. What's cool about this, I feel like I could still use Y244 right now and just warm it up with some bronzer and I feel like it would still match pretty well. The shades are very flexible, which is nice when you're using a lighter coverage foundation. Because I mean, I've had a few times where I've worn really full coverage foundation and I don't realize till I leave that it is not the right shade. All right, so I have some product pumped out on my coaster here and I've been applying this with a pretty tight kabuki brush, which normally I don't do. Normally I would use something maybe a little bit fuller or something a little bit less dense, something like that. But Ariel used a kabuki brush when he did Desi's foundation and he buffed it a lot into the skin. Like, there was a lot of buffing going on. That was one of the tips that he had, was just keep buffing it in. Really buff it into the skin. I mean, look at this color. Could that be any more perfect right now? Like, I didn't load up the brush with a ton of product. I just did a couple dabs and then I worked it into the brush. And this is just the first layer. Pretty light coverage here, but just working it into the skin. And I think one of my favorite things about this foundation is how it feels on my skin. Similarly to the Ultra HD Concealer, one of the reasons why I love this is it just feels like I have a second layer of skin. It doesn't feel like I'm wearing a lot of makeup. And that is the same thing with this foundation. This is one layer really buffed in all over the skin. One layer of product all over. And I used pretty much every last drop that I pumped out. So now if you wanna go in with a little bit more coverage, which I will just a tiny bit, just right over here, I'm gonna lightly press it in. I love the finish of it. I love that it's not too luminous. Sometimes lighter coverage, it feels like an oil slick on your face, and this one definitely does not feel like that, which I love. Okay, now what I'm gonna do is my concealer, and we're gonna start building up coverage a little bit more via concealer, because you know I like to conceal my under eyes. I'm gonna go with a little bit of a lighter coverage concealer and then just pop in my full coverage right on the corner. This is the Laura Mercier Flawless Fusion Ultra Longwear Concealer in the shade 2N. So this I'm gonna use to blend, just kind of blend my concealer into my foundation. And then I won't come in with really full coverage until I do the inner corner, which is what I like to do pretty often. So this kind of melts everything together. And of course, you know, if you just wanna do that, that is fine. But I like to really brighten and conceal more so on the inner corner. So what I'm gonna do is take some Shape Tape and apply that with a brush to the inner corners of the eyes and then blend that out. And then that will be the full coverage portion of the under eye. Lately, I have been applying my under eye concealer with a brush and then pouncing it out. I feel like it does give me a little bit of a more full coverage, but also seamless finish. I get a little bit more control of where I put the product. This, give me a little lift on the eyes. I did stop doing this at one point, but I've started doing it again. So I take my bright concealer and almost like where I would take my wing liner is where I pull the concealer out to, as if I'm cleaning up my eyeshadow. I just kind of have been liking it. I feel like it's been lifting my eyes a little bit, especially on days where I don't wear makeup on my lower lash line, which I have been doing a lot lately as well. I'm just going to buff this out right here. I just use this kind of as a color corrector on the inner corner of the eye. And then I'm just gonna take this and buff this out. I just love that illusion of the lift that it's adding right there. Same concealer, I'm gonna apply right here, buff this out. So when Ariel baked on the center of the nose, he actually had this wedge-shaped sponge, which I wish I had, but I don't, that he created a really straight line on, which I like, because sometimes when I do that, I can be like a little bit wobbly, and you know, that's not always the vibe. All right, now the next step was something that I was not expecting in the routine when I went to the masterclass, and that was setting the under eyes. When Ariel set the under eyes, he used, before a loose setting powder, the Matte Velvet Skin Blurring Powder Foundation. So I just picked this shade up. This is R210, which has a little bit more of a peachy undertone to it. I think this is actually the lightest shade that they have. So I'm just gonna take a clean side of my sponge, and you can just see how it like smooths and brightens the under eye. I mean, you can see it pretty much instantly, which is crazy. So I'm just pressing it in right here on the under eyes. And I used the R undertone because it has a little bit more peach. It's a little bit more brightening. Also, I noticed when you do powders, like a powder foundation, if it gets a little bit wet, you know how sometimes it gets a little bit darker, so I like to use the brightest one. Like, let's get these bright under eyes, you know? I don't know, I would have thought it would have been too heavy, but it looks so pretty on the under eyes, and it just like blurs everything out, and I'm just here like with these bright, smooth under eyes now, and I'm like, okay, here we go. And now what I'm gonna do is go in with a cream bronzer. I've been using cream bronzer way more often lately than a powder. Sometimes I'll do a powder on top of it, but I've pretty much been doing a cream every single day, and creams blend really, really nicely with this foundation as well. This is the Milk Makeup Matte Bronzer in the shade Baked. So I'm just gonna start working this around the forehead. And Ariel, when he blended in the bronzer, it just looked so nice. He did the concealer shades to make a cream contour. And he started with the cream and then went in with the powder after and just built this really pretty sculpted looking face with the concealer. So I'm just gonna do that here with a little bit of bronzer, starting up at the forehead with most of the product and then slowly kind of pulling it down. So now I'm gonna do the same thing here. Just kind of focus most of the product right there in the hollow of the cheek and then buff it upward. Okay, and now what I'm gonna do is set the under eyes with some loose setting powder, really, really lightly. I'm gonna avoid the direct under eye area as well and just kind of dust that off. All right, now what I wanna do is a little additional spot concealing. I'll only do this on areas that I really want a little bit of extra coverage, which is right here and right here. So this is the Ultra HD concealer, but this is the shade number 32. So it's a little bit more tan than what I would use when I wear no foundation. And I'm just gonna lightly tap this on. And then I like to buff it out with a little brush. And then if you wanna add a tiny, tiny bit of the foundation, just so that way all the color blends seamlessly together and you don't see any spot concealing. And now for blush. I have been using liquid blush very often lately, but I'm gonna go switch it back to powder today. This is another technique that I learned from Ariel, which is blush. I love the way that Kylie's blush looks. It's always very pink, like a very cool, very bright, but it doesn't look like a lot of, like it looks like a lot of blush, but it doesn't look like a lot of blush, you know? But I've always loved that. I love blush in general. And when I saw the technique, I was like, no way. Like I would never have thought to do that. I typically put blush here and kind of pull it back almost a little bit north of like my bronzer contour. And the way Ariel put blush on was much different than that. It was really like high up on the under eyes and I was blown away. I mean, it looks amazing. I've been doing that technique and I love it. So I'm gonna start with this blush from Nars. This is Behave. And I do wanna add a little bit of this. I don't want it to be really, really bold pink, but I do like a little hint of cool pink in my blush. So I'm kind of just mixing those two together. Here is where the blush went on. So just start applying this. And you see I'm almost in my under eye. Like I'm almost there, which would have freaked me out before, but then once I did it, I was really into it. It just does add a very youthful looking blush to the skin. Normally I would hate doing blush just on the apples of my cheeks, but because it comes up a little bit higher, I feel like it lifts at the same time. So I was here for it, and I kind of wish I did both at the same time, but I wanted you guys to like see the difference between the two. So it's like you can tell I'm wearing blush, but it doesn't look like I'm wearing too much. I mean, to me, it doesn't look like I'm wearing too much. I don't know what you guys think, but I really like the way that this looks. Now what I'm gonna do is just contour a little bit in here using some of my contour powder that's already on here. I don't want it to be too drastic. Just a bit right here. I'm gonna go ahead and set my makeup. I'm using the Makeup Forever Mist and Fix spray. And let me do my lip off camera and then we will be good to go. All right, I honestly did not know that this video was gonna look so Valentine's Day themed until the very end. I know I've got like pink blush, pink backdrop, pink lipstick going on, which by the way, these Natasha Denona lipsticks are really coming through for me during these dry seasons. These dry winter months. This is from the I Need a Nude collection, which is pretty old. This is shade 21P. All right, you guys, so that wraps up today's video featuring Makeup Forever's new Reboot foundation. Really excited about this product. I feel like this is like a theme for this year. Lighter coverage, also like more on the go kind of look. So let me know your guys' thoughts in the comments down below. I really hope you guys enjoyed this video and thank you so much for watching.